achievements from 2025 and plans for 2026. Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. It's been a long time since I said that, hasn't it? Several months in fact. But anyway, this is my end of year review. What did I achieve in 2025 and what do I hope to achieve in 2026? But before we can get any trains running, I've got to tidy up and clean the track. So stay tuned and I'll be back in a minute. Well, I have to say that's taken quite a long time to get this up and running, but I suppose if you don't use your layout for several months, it's only to be expected, isn't it? But managed to get some trains running. So we can see we've got the Midland Pullman, and you've probably just seen a Transpennine 350 coming through the station. It's coming back right now. There it is. There we go. And you can probably see on the middle line there, we've got a Tesco's container train, and there should also be a class 90 on some intercity coaches on an LSL trip. Well, before we get on to what I achieved this year, it's been quite a while since I showed everybody what the layout is like. Now, I've taken a canopy off and it's there, nothing wrong with it, just needs to be refitted. But as I was off, I thought I'll show you what it's like inside. So hopefully you can get the idea. I went there in 2018 and I asked Network Rail if I could video and or take loads of photos, and they very kindly let me do that. So there you go, you can see what it's like inside the train shed, which you don't normally get to see. And yes, the ramp is there in the far distance on platform 10, I believe it is. You can see the far wall, and indeed you probably can't see it that clearly, but through the ticket barriers there is the main concourse. So there's the information displays, and there's the upper level restaurants, which you might be able to make out there. You can see it a lot better there with the checkered floor going across there, and all the way over there you can probably just about make out what it's like inside, and it is absolutely packed with people. And there's a view into the station itself. So as we come out of the car park there, you can see all the different barriers and some interesting parking going on there. Taxis in the distance there. Anyway, for those who haven't seen this, I did give them a bit of a vacuum. So all these buildings are there. This, I believe, if it's still the catering building, it's where the meals are prepared to go out on the trains. And then all the station over there. And I know it's a bit different, but if I lift that lid off, again, you can see inside there. I think it is a little bit different these days, isn't it? But I'm not going to go in and change it. I can't see the point, particularly for something you don't see on a regular basis. And then all of platform 13 and 14 and all the canopies. I have noticed a lot of this is coming undone, so I'll tell you about that later maybe. There we go, let's go over there now. So again, for those who haven't seen it, this is Dinting, and it is a slightly revised version of Dinting. It has always been a Y station, so the platforms go in there and then go back down that way, and you can see the point of the platform just there and all the buildings. This, as I've said several times, I believe is a privately owned house, and obviously platform 1, I believe, and platform 2. I think this one has been more recently refurbished. And then this bit, I really like this area here, I have to be honest, but the old burnt out station there, and you can see how dilapidated it is, bits falling down, There's obviously been a fire in there as well at some point. So I'm really happy with the way that's turned out. It is really lovely to see these trains running again, and this is why I like the N gauge, because I mean, I know the container train's not full length, but that HST certainly is. That's you know, 9 carriages plus 2, so it's really, I just love it. And this area here is New Mills. I'll go over there in a second. So there you go, there's New Mills from the other direction. And again, for those who are not sure, the idea of this layout is several well-known places cramped together, but yet hundreds of miles apart. And this here is Torvale Mill. So this is the Millennium Walk running all the way through there. And there would be, or is in real life, a link from here up to there. That's why I chose to do it, because if you go along on the train out towards Sheffield, you can look down and see into Torvale Mill. So that is all there. I'll take you around the back. And the River Goyt with the weir. Like that. Now, there we go. This was one of the areas I did do last year. I'll start talking about it more specifically in a minute. But this part was replaced so that the trains could run through. So basically, one of the big things that I really wanted to do last year was to create a 4-track main line. So as you can see, there are 4 tracks there. So there's effectively 2 lines on the inner loop and 2 lines on the outer loop. And those 2, the outer 2, go through Piccadilly Station where the HST is right now. And these 2, so that would be the 90 and the container train that run round on the inside there and come back down through this area here. If you wait a second, you'll see the 90 again. There it is. So that was one of the big things that I really wanted to achieve last year. However, the biggest area that was changed this past year in 2025 was this area here. This corner here last year was completely blank, and I was talking about having trees coming down here and maybe some outlets from the main station over there, sort of carrying on this industry as it works its way out. But I just felt, you know, I use the buses regularly now, and I just felt I wanted a bit of homage to that, because, you know, they are a major part of life now. That's the way life is. So I thought it'd be quite nice to make a load of buses. So all of these are resin printed to my own 3D design, but that is a Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 MMC and painted up in what they call the local livery. Okay, and these are more the buses that come through my area at the moment. What would be the gold livery. So that is an older Enviro 400. Again, I sort of designed the CAD, if you like, for that, and then somebody pointed out I should have a load of buses in the B network, because eventually all of them will be like that. So I thought I'll start putting a few into this livery, kind of like that. There's one in the old, what we call beach ball livery there, and there's one over there in the new steel blue livery just there, apart from an Arriva poking its head just in the background there. We've got a Greggs there, a Starbucks, and a Lidl supermarket there all the way to the end. And that does carry on around the corner, although a little bit more scatty, if you like. But this area at the back here was probably the biggest time, and it took a lot longer to make this, as you can appreciate. Excuse the finger. But this is Glossop. So obviously We've got Glossop Station there, which used to be considerably bigger than it is now. In fact, trains use this platform, obviously it's considerably longer in real life, but was double-sided, so 2 trains could go in there. And over there, I believe, was a big sort of marshalling yard or sort of goods depot. And I think that building there was part of the shed in the distance there. That now is, I believe, a B&M. But the houses, I'll take you around the other side in a second. These houses are actually there, or that's a house, and these are businesses. That is made up area around the back there, purely because there's no photographs I could see. But there's that street there. I can't remember what that street's called. I'll be honest, sorry for people who live there. And obviously the station, take you down in there. And through there. So that was the biggest area.
Now in 2026, I'm going to aim to complete this station approach. But firstly, I do need to replace many of the insel frog points for electro frogs for better running.
So there's one there, but there are a few others. There's another one just there, scattered around all around the corner. In fact, that big one there, that curve, with the idea of replacing all those insel frog points and then putting frog juicers on them, purely to make them considerably more reliable than they are now. Secondly, you'll realise that none of that 4-track main line is ballasted, and there is a really good reason for that. Now, in last year's review video, I said there were going to be some massive changes coming to this area here.
Now, looking at this engine shed, I am quite happy with the way it is so far. However, I obviously need to make a new roof, but that wasn't part of the major change.
That board in there is a lift, and as I go down, you will see at the back there, you'll have to forgive me, I'll talk about this fiddle yard in a moment. The doctor seems to have taken over a lot with the Daleks, but there we go. That board there is the lift. And trains used to come down to this lower level and they would drive off. Now, the biggest problem I had with this area, the tracks would move. They would expand, they would contract, they would raise, they would lower. And sometimes when I come in, the tracks could be a good millimetre out of alignment. And I'm talking height alignment. And so how do I get a train on or off of the lift when I've got that much gap to deal with? So I have deemed the lift not to work. And that's why the fiddle yard has become a bit abandoned. And when I put the points in on the track Piccadilly Station approach, I literally robbed all the electro-frog points from this area that I could possibly find, purely to reduce the amount of money it would cost. I would like to raise this up probably about 4 inches, something like that, and then have a ramp going all the way down. This is why I say the 00 gauge was a test, and if it works in 00 gauge, there's a possibility it will work in N gauge as well. So I've just moved one of the sheds out of the way, but to turn one track, and I mean only one, into this huge ramp which would disappear under the board and then go round all the way up there, back again, and have the ramp sort of come down here somewhere. There is a lot of working out to do, and whether I get anywhere close to doing this next year, I just don't know. The 00 gauge has sort of taken over priority a little bit. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the video. I am going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed seeing the trains running from, you know, almost seemingly from a very, very, very long time ago. But anyway, you take care of yourself. Happy New Year to you, and I will see you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly. Take care now. Bye-bye.